Now, I'm always saying the NBA is entering a brand new phase where Adam Silver is going to have to fight the perception of just the way the fans and the media themselves interpret the players making well over $100 million a year by the time this new CBA ends. Not only the amount of money the players will be making will be ballooned, but also you got to look at the fact that owners will be paying heavy into the luxury tax in order to surround these guys and keep their teams competitive. We're talking about luxury tax payments that exceed $150 million, the same way the scenario played out with Kevin Durant being out there in Phoenix. But just dialing this right back in regards to Jalen Brunson, after he took over a $113 million pay cut in his previous contract signing, he is now soon to be eligible for a 5-year, over $400 million extension. And just the idea of that, especially in today's economy, might rub certain fans, especially media members, the wrong way. That is part of the perception that Adam Silver is fighting right now, because in the past few years, the load management culture has been synonymous with the NBA. Guys taking games off and not necessarily giving a fuck. Local New York sports personality Craig Carlton expressed a lot of outrage in the thought of the amount of money an NBA player could potentially make, knowing that the perception is that these guys are basically taking nights off and just chucking up a lot of threes. No one loves pocket watching more than New Yorkers, and to a degree, having these dynamics play out in this very city is only going to add even more fuel to the fire. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
His contract's going to slowly come up.
Yeah.
And obviously he took a hometown discount, his last deal with the New York Knicks. So the Knicks go out there and make some other deals, sign some other guys. He said, quote unquote, I hope that they'll do right by me. So let me define for you what choices the Knicks and Jalen Brunson are going to have. And I'm going to tell you, despite the fact that I'm a diehard Knicks fan, which you know, I find this to be objectionable.
Okay.
So let me just give you the facts first, and then we'll get into it, okay? So Jalen Brunson, in 2028, so after next season, he could sign a 4-year contract with the New York Knicks for a max total of $323 million.
Yes.
So that comes out to be ballpark 60 some odd million dollars a year.
Right.
Do I have the numbers right on that?
Yes. Now, the reason is because with NBC back, the TV number went up and the players get a percentage of that total.
I apologize. 4 years to 323 is over $70 million a year.
Now, Craig, don't get a heart attack too quick, because this is only the beginning number. Guys like Jason Tatum and Luka are set up to make well over 80 and even touch $100 million a year by the time this new television deal is almost midway through. So for the very first time, we're about to see guys make well over $1 million per game. And in New York alone, already having the pressure performing in the Big Apple, that's going to go up times 10 once the fan base as well as the media just have it in their subconscious that you're making $1 million a game. That load management culture is about to go out the window. Fans are going to want you to perform even if you're in fucking crutches.
I apologize. It'll
go up as the years go.
It's actually, boy, my math sucks today. It's actually $80 million a year. Okay, that's so if he decides to redo his deal, let's just start fresh, yeah? If Jalen Brunson redoes his deal in 2028, it is a 4-year deal, $323 million. That's $80 million a year.
That's right.
If Jalen Brunson decides to wait till 2029, then he gets a 5-year deal for $418 million, the same $80 million a year, just over, okay?
Yeah.
Now, the players that'll be eligible in 2030, 2031, they're going to make even more than that. And you have to be on a certain level. It's not like a bunch of players going to be eligible for this kind of money, but the guys I would say that are top 15, they're going to be pulling in some dough.
Now, I love the New York Knicks. Obviously, I love Jalen Brunson and what he has brought to the New York Knicks, making them a legitimate contender. He gets all the credit for that. And, of course, Leon Rose for putting great pieces around him. But I cannot sit here today and tell you that we should be paying a basketball player, even my best player, $80 million a year. I can't make that make sense. And I'm not saying he hasn't earned it. I'm not saying based on the current landscape and the finances of basketball that if other guys are going to get those kinds of contracts, then yes, Jalen Brunson deserves that type of contract because his peers are getting those types of contracts. But if you try to figure out, as we've all done through the NBA All-Star break, how do we make basketball better? How do we, quote-unquote, fix basketball? I have to tell you this. As a diehard fan of basketball, as a guy that was referred to as a basketball aficionado by the great Joe Dumars.
Mediocre Joe Dumars.
Okay, the great Joe Dumars.
Mediocre Joe Dumars.
I can't defend, I can't, giving Jalen Brunson 5 years, $418 million. I can't.
And this same sentiment is going to be an issue a lot of the players are going to have to deal with coming from the media, especially as their business is basically consolidating and the money's drying up. You can only imagine if one of these guys have to take an extra game off to heal up while making $1.2 million just for that appearance.
Now, I'd rather have him than not have him. I'm not trading him, obviously. And I know the Knicks are going to give him that deal unless he goes for the earlier deal, which is 4 years, $323, still $80 million a year.
Yeah.
My mind doesn't work. I can't wrap my head around giving a basketball player $80 million a year. And I want to be clear about this because I know it's going to happen. The haters are going to come out.
Deservedly so,
based on the current landscape, Jalen Brunson deserves every penny of either one of those two deals.
Yeah.
He has earned it. He deserves it. But we're being crazy, folks. We're being crazy if we're now going to pay our basketball players $80 million a year and then encourage them. Now, Jalen does not take advantage of this, so it's a little bit different. Encourage them to take 18 games off every single year.
Now, right there, notice how he even acknowledged Jalen Brunson doesn't take any games off, but yet he still feels that he does not deserve the money. Once again, Adam Silver will have to fight the perception of what the fans think, especially with these payouts coming in, while at the same time, some of these teams will be tanking and players from night to night might be taking a game off.
And only play 65 games. I'm sorry. It is a problem with the sport. The finances of the sport are broken. You can't give a guy $80 million a year to play 65 games in the NBA.
Why?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but why?
Because
you haven't
it's
said
crazy.
Why. No. See, this is why.
Because my ticket prices are too high.
No, they're not too high.
My ticket prices are too high.
Then blame the
because
owners.
we're giving out deals like
no,
that.
No, they're not high because of that. That's a lie. Do not listen to Craig Carton about that.
You should.
That's not true.
Why do you think ticket prices are high?
Because the TV deal. This is simple. Do not listen to Craig Carton. Everything Craig said was wrong.
Owners make money
every
on the
word
TV
he said
deal.
was wrong. The TV deal. And the players get a percentage. Therefore, when the players were making $20 million at the max, it was because the TV deal, not the tickets.
Facts. My man Tyrone right here is preaching. The contracts for the money is already signed and sealed. It's pretty much for the league and the players to not show up, but it's going to come in. And that $80 million price tag for Jalen Brunson is only the beginning. The human element to this whole situation is kind of funny, but it's kind of crazy at the same time because people's perceptions of how hard these guys have to work and the importance of just them being basketball players, it's going to be put to the forefront. I mean, we're talking about $1 million a game, maybe 1.3, 1.2.
Yeah.
The TV deal, had nothing to do with tickets. They can give free tickets away. The money wouldn't change at all. Do not listen to Craig about this.
I happen to be right.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, all this is they bring in revenue.
Yes.
The league brings in a certain amount
of players get more than half the revenue.
And they get 51% of the
more than
revenue.
half.
Okay? That's the way the deal was set. That was negotiated.
Okay.
They also put in, basically with the second apron, a hard cap to spread that money around the whole league. What Craig Carton just said is not, don't pay the players, pay the owner. Yes, you are. Craig,
Craig, stop. I can't give a guy $80 million to play basketball.
And that's another dynamic that's very interesting. I don't know if human nature comes into play with this, but fans tend to side with the owners when it comes to money versus the players. That is another weird dynamic in sports. If a player is trying to get the money that he qualifies for and he's holding out or he's making issues with the contract or he goes to another city, the fans tend to turn on that player. Versus the owners, they'll leave a whole city or just trade away players when they don't want to pay luxury tax. Fans as well as media tend to make less of a fuss about that. Very interesting.
No. If you don't give him that money, where's the money go?
I suppose that it would stay in the owner's pocket.
Right. So what Craig Carton just announced, everybody, is he wants 30 billionaires to get all the money, and the players you actually watch play to not get the money.
And he's not the only one that feels that way. Subconsciously, Tyrone is right on point right here, but subconsciously, a lot of people feel that way. The pocket watching is real. And let me add a little bit more nuance to this. That 65 game rule is another slick way the owners kind of put another threshold of players possibly trying to reach that 51% revenue. Because if the top level guys are not playing more than 65 games, they don't qualify for all NBA awards, which is connected to them getting those max contracts. So there's multiple layers to this. For example, Tyrese Halliburton almost risked further injury back in 2024 in order to get past 65 games because he was in a contract year. Same thing would apply for Jokic this season and next year. He has basically 2 opportunities to make sure that he plays more than 65 games, or else he would not qualify for all NBA award, and that would then compromise him getting that supermax.
$80 million to play basketball.
No. If you don't give him that money, where's the money go?
I suppose that it would stay in the owner's pocket.
Right. So what Craig Carton just announced, everybody, is he wants 30 billionaires to get all the money, and the players you actually watch play to not get the money.
Let me ask you a question.
The percentage is the same, Craig.
Let me ask you a question. You're a small business owner, right?
Yeah.
Should you be allowed to make money, or should the people that work for you make all the money?
They should. Well, no, the owners are poor now. This was negotiated. If I sit down and negotiate with the cleaner of the department, right? And I say, I'm getting this amount, you get percentage. So right now it's $100.
Yes.
Right? So right now I get $49, and all of you.
So as a business owner, I'm just asking you, would you have signed up? You busted your ass to build a business, right? Would you have signed up to give your employees more money than you get?
Yes. So in this scenario, I absolutely would for this reason. No, it's not bad business. If I get $49 and 15 people split $51, so then it becomes $1 million.
Okay.
And it's 4.9. That's what you're saying doesn't make sense.
I don't think any player should get $80 million a year.
Yeah.
Hey, let them know how you feel, Carl. You pocket watching. You don't like the fact that they're making the money. That's really what it is. And again, you can only imagine being in New York City, just signing a contract where you're making well over $1 million a game. Any kind of misstep or just an appearance that you're not playing in these games because of a quote unquote light injury is going to have a lot of vitriol attached to it.
But that's just an arbitrary thing. Yeah, that's an arbitrary thing,
And I think here's the deal. And the reason I want to be very clear about
you're preying on people who don't who make 50,000, and rather than help educate them, you're preying on them because they don't make $80 million.
Well, I know it costs $250 to go to a game to see my favorite team play.
Yeah, that's because the guard is expensive.
I know it costs almost $200 for you to see your favorite team play in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Craig, once again, the ticket prices has nothing to do with the money they're getting. That is all off the TV revenue. NBC and Amazon is the reason why the money is trickling in the way it is. I believe NBC spent more on the NBA than they did versus the NFL.
I know you're upset with your owner right now, and I understand why.
Because he doesn't spend money.
For another day.
Yeah.
But here's the bottom line. We are living in a bat-poop crazy world if we're encouraging guys not to play all 82, and we're giving them $80 million a year, and we're also saying to them, yes, we're giving you $80 million a year in this case, and we're telling you, you don't have to play in every single game. You can't make that make sense. You can't tell me as the owner that I've got to pay you more than half of my total revenue, but you don't have to play in all my games. Because how is that fair to me? And I'm a player guy. But if I'm telling my players that they
I'm a player guy, get the fuck out of here. Once again, the human element comes into play here. Fans tend to side with the owners, as crazy as that sounds. Look at the backlash LeBron James got when he was an actual free agent. Of course, a lot of us was pissed he chose Miami and just the D-Wade portion, just going somewhere with so much talent. But a lot of that backlash was really him having the choice of just going anywhere he wanted to, especially from the NBA media and the inner circles around the league. The audacity of him choosing to leave Cleveland, the audacity of him having options. That right there is really what shared more of the percentage of the backlash.
They can take essentially 25% of their annual workload off, and they don't take a hit financially. How is that equitable? Now, if you told me that I'm going to pay you $80 million a year, but I'm going to get you to play all 82 games, and people that come to the games get to see the best player who's making the most money, that's a much better argument.
And my man Craig forgot that these guys are not clocking in, clocking out, buddy. They can go to work and come back home injured, having to recover for a whole season. The owner is guaranteed to function the same way unless he has some internal health issues, but he's not risking a broken shoulder, a messed up hip, or anything like that. Again, it's amazing how the media as well as the fans subconsciously side with the owners above the players.
But players that are making 50, 60, 70, now $80 million a year also don't have the respect of the owner or the fans to show up and play all 82 games.
Respect to the owner?
Make that make sense.
Why the hell do I give a damn about the respect of an owner?
Because he's putting money in your pocket.
Man,
that's
that
why.
owner, all these current owners,
Yes.
all these guys that were given money by their pappies,
Not
get
all
the
of them.
hell out of here. All of them right
Mike
now.
Cuban
Get
didn't
out of
inherit
here.
any money.
Okay, he's not an owner anymore.
Okay, well,
he's not an owner
he's
anymore.
about to buy
yeah,
back
he's
in.
not an owner anymore.
He's about to buy back
also,
in.
the 50, it's
Yeah.
50-50 split, by
Yeah.
the way, with it can go to 51% depending on spending.
So I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's appropriate for me as the owner to say to you, the player, I'm happy to give you the money, but you actually have to play? Is that not a fair comment?
No. Why do players
Yes.
sit out? Why do players sit out?
Because
no,
they're
tell the
soft,
truth. No,
because they're
no,
lazy,
No, they sit out because
it's
the
too
only
hard
thing
to
that
play.
matters to fans is the
Yes.
championship. The fans don't
That's
care
not
about
true.
games in February,
That's not true.
except when players don't play.
That's not
When
true.
they win them, they don't care.
And that's the narrative that Adam Silver is going to have to weave out of the league, because the optics are not even close to looking right when you have players earning well over $1 million a game and they're sitting out. That's the perception right now. But because of the 65-game rules and just overall how the money is now structured, we're going to see some changes, and hopefully that narrative begins to be a thing of the past.
They use it as a way
false.
to bludgeon the players. That's a
fundamentally
fact.
false.
I didn't state an opinion.
You know how many times you've taken phone calls, Nia, from people saying, I saved up all my money to go to that one
Never-
game
never once.
to see my favorite
Never
player
once.
play.
I've never heard that.
And Joel Embiid's on the bench.
I've never heard that.
Well, then you're
That's a
living your
fake
head in the
thing.
sand.
That's a fake
Then
thing.
you need to get back on the radio to take those calls.
Hey, that's another narrative right there. Who the hell wants to buy tickets for their stars to be sitting out? And those ticket prices, the only reason they're going sky high like that is because the owners, they have enough leverage to raise the prices based off of demand. The sport is more globalized now. There's a lot of fans that are flying in from different countries just to see some of these players. Even the smaller market teams are getting people flying in from across the pond. But it is what it is. Making over $1 million a game in New York is only going to add on to the pressure of just already wearing that Knicks jersey. This team already has a long history of guys who've been overpaid and barely made any appearances. So the first player to sign a crazy contract, which is looking like it's going to be Brunson, that's one hell of a burden to have on his shoulders.